This is the ultimate guide to CityU Law School, Part 1.
What is CityU Law School like, and what exactly will I be studying? If these are the burning questions on your mind, then you have come to the right place. My name is Sophia. For the past 3 years, I've been at City University of Hong Kong studying law, and today I will tell you all about what studying law is like.
In Part 1, we'll be covering the types of degrees, course structure, courses, and class mode.
CityU is actually the second oldest law school in Hong Kong. Founded in 1987, currently at its 35th anniversary, they are actually having a gala dinner and a public lecture, but too bad I'll be in Italy, so I won't be able to join. My degree is called Bachelor of Laws. Aside from this traditional LLB program, CityU actually offers 3 double degrees, collaboration with other world-renowned law schools, JD program, and also LLM programs. I remember actually the law school sending us an email asking whether we want to be in those double degree programs or not. Double degrees, which is 5 years, versus our traditional ones, which is 4 years, would be
Computing mathematics,
public policy, and criminology. For computing mathematics, they only have a quota of 9 students, so it's quite competitive. You guys better get those good grades or, hope for those good grades. There is an advantage of taking a double degree program. If you want to be a solicitor working in tech, you understanding some math and computer science would probably help. The second thing I mentioned is the collaboration program, and this is with Georgetown University. It is a 3-year LLB program and a 1-year master's in the US. This does not qualify you to practice in the US, but you can take the bar exam later on, which would qualify you as a lawyer in the US. At CityU, you'll have 3 types of courses. One, namely core courses, for example, your law basic courses, which I'll be covering later. A mandatory course the university requires you to take. 3, electives for your subject, or you can supplement this with the university courses. Personally, I would prefer the university courses. It's easier to get good grades, but at the same time, there are courses which will help you understand more areas of the law, which can be very exciting. If you want to study law, then you've probably read this book called What About Law? It's about laws that you'll study in the UK, which is very similar to that in Hong Kong. It covers the basics, for example, contract, tort, criminal, but there are many different types of law that you will be studying in university. In your first year, contracts. What is contract? Little terms and conditions that you clicked agree without reading?
You will learn the elements for a contract, offer, consideration, and acceptance,
or the liabilities that parties have to bear when they don't do what the contract says. The second thing would be tort. That word sounds a bit funny. I thought that in my first year too. Have you ever thought about what would happen if you just slipped on the floor in a mall? Where can you get money from? Well, this is when tort law comes in. You can sue for injuries, say someone threw a brick at you. Defamation. If people say untrue things that hurt your reputation and your career. There was this really interesting case.
An employee of Ritz-Carlton drove one of the hotel cars during work hour and crashed into someone else.
Was the employee liable, or is Ritz-Carlton liable? That form of liability is called vicarious liability. The answer is you always want to go after the person with the most money because they can compensate you the most. Next, Hong Kong legal system. For those of you who grew up in Hong Kong, you'd probably know a little bit about the separation of power already. You have 3 branches, the executive branch, judicial branch, and also the legislative branch. You'll learn more about the interplays of power between the different organs, how they regulate each other. Is there really separation of power? What is the rule of law? These big terms you hear on TV.
You will also learn Hong Kong as a special administrative region of China's relationship with the mainland.
Moving on to the second year, commercial law. You'll be studying the SOGO, not the SOGO that you go buy things in, but the sale of goods ordinance. Administrative law. You'll basically be learning how to appeal against procedural incorrect action by the government. Constitutional law. This would relate back to what you studied in the first year. The highest authoritative legal document in Hong Kong is the Basic Law. You'll learn how to appeal against different organizations for violating certain rights given to you in the Basic Law and different international treaties. Criminal law. This is probably what you had in mind when you think about studying in law school. All the different types of crime there are, murder, rape, speeding, and this is exactly what you will study. The cases can get quite gruesome as well. You'll actually learn about the theories of criminal justice, whether prison is fair. Is there a better way to rehabilitate people? I remember you have to do a court report, applied legal theory, or commonly known as jurisprudence. If you've ever wondered what is law, this course will answer that question.
The theory mainly covers whether there is a correlation between law and morality. Naturalists say yes, positivists say no.
An ultimate all-knowing judge named Hercules. There will also be analogies. So if you're the philosophical type, then you will love this course. Our professor speaks very eloquently. Every sentence that comes out of his mouth could be on a textbook. It is that good. He is not reading off of the textbook. He really is just speaking to you. Land law. This is probably one of the hardest courses there is. I once worked at a law firm.
Someone from conveyance told me that Hong Kong has perhaps one of the most complex and backwards land registration system in the world.
So good luck with that. I'm already done. Land law is basically the rules for determining the ultimate owner of a flat.
If you stay in a vacant premises for long enough, can you become an owner, essentially getting a free flat?
Who has a right to certain parts of the building? If you lived in this gated community, your house is all the way at the back, but then people who lives in front of you start blocking the path off of the entrance. What remedy can you have? Hong Kong has so many high-rise. Everybody in that building is an owner. So there are DMC's deed of mutual covenants that govern this sort of complex living environment. In marriage, you have one party paying price of the flat. Other partner stays at home and they contribute to household expenses, raising the kids, and then the relationship breaks down. Who does the flat belong to? You can say, the wife didn't contribute any to the purchase price, and because I contributed everything, that means I am the owner of the flat. You'll come to learn more about how that distribution works. I'll leave that to you. Third year, equity and trust basically redresses the unfairness in common law. When people receive the judgment, which they thought was pretty unfair, they will go to the chancery, appealing the case from the original court, the Court of Equity and common law. They eventually fuse together. That's why you have this complex law, and the general rule is the rules in equity would prevail over common law. Fairness goes first, right? The topics you'll be covering is quite similar to that in land law. For example, you have a sum of money. You want that to go to a charitable cause. If it is a trust, then you can't just spend the money however you want. There are some rules. But then if it is a gift, then the recipient can do whatever they want with it. So the question is it a trust or a gift? Company law is something less personal to our lives. But if you're interested in business, then you will find that this course is very interesting. Company ordinance has
one of the most sections out of all the ordinances I've studied
in the past 3 years. Don't worry, you won't need to know every single one of them, but you will need to know the nuances between the sections because those are what will make your answers stand out. It is about the types of companies there are, the requirements for setting up such companies, the roles, and you have rules about how to handle the conflicts between directors, majority shareholders, and minority shareholders. How to avoid liability as a company. For example, if I set up a company and one day goes bankrupt, can the bank come after my assets, which I have over here? Or will the veil stop them from coming for me and my assets over there? You'll see how crafty people can be when it comes to money. The most interesting and defining aspect of CityU law is probably PRC Law, meaning the laws of China. Why do we want to learn about the Chinese legal system? Because of the Greater Bay Area development and also the interconnectivity between Hong Kong and China. It is actually beneficial for you to gain an understanding of a different legal system. You learn about the political and legal structure in China, where you have the CCP and the state itself, and how the two of them interact. There will be topics about whether there is judicial independence in China, human rights issues, basically things that the international community puts a lot of spotlight on.
My friend and I wrote a 4,000-word essay on judicial independence in China in 8 hours.
It was actually quite fun. And finally, coming to the last year, evidence law,
which is the final core course you have to take before you can graduate. Each semester is around 3 to 4 months long. Ideally, you would be taking 4 to 6 courses with a maximum of 7 allowed.
For law courses, there will be 2 things that each course requires of you.
There will be a 2-hour lecture and a weekly or bi-weekly tutorial.
Bi-weekly ones would be around 2 hours, and the weekly ones would be 1 hour. For only the first semester, I've went to school every single day for my courses, decided where to get lunch. For the past 2.5 years, it has been a hybrid mode. For the tutorials, you have to prepare a problem question every single week. There is around 15 to 25 people per class. Sometimes you'll be the one presenting, then you have to do a little bit more work.
If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the upcoming part 2 where we'll be covering the following topics.